You asked and we listened. We are diving straight into Punisher Season 2, and it picks off several months after the events of Punisher Season 1, and it quickly dives right back into the action. From John Pilgrim's introduction to the controversial ending of the show, there is so much to unpack. If you're a fan of complex characters and brutal action, stick around. You will not want to miss this. Getting right into it, to no one's surprise, the acting in this show is spectacular. Just like the last season of Punisher, it was very well acted. I mean, John Barenthal, Ben Barnes, they were fantastic. Amber Rose, who plays Agent Madani, did a great job with the acting. And I think the action in this show is just as action packed, if not more so than last season. I think it is really well done. Maybe not as well choreographed, but definitely a lot more of it and a bit more violent, I would say. That's kind of just, I guess, the feeling I get from it. I guess a bit more rageful and a bit than just structured, if that makes any sense. Other than that, and just the great characters, I don't think I have anything else good to say about this season.
I actually disagree with Griff. I like this season. I don't think I like it more than season one, but I had a lot of fun with this season. I love the cast, very much like the Daredevil seasons. Punisher has an amazing cast. John, again, for me, he knocks it out of the ballpark. I really like how this story starts. I had a lot of fun. I can't say it's a perfect story. I can't say that, the season is great or better than season one, but I personally, I enjoyed it. I'm curious as to you guys' thoughts. Again, the cast is phenomenal. I love the character of Amy, and I found the character of John Pilgrim. I think it's because of the actor. I think it's mainly because of the actor that I really dug this villain. His attire, his mannerisms, his acting abilities. He's creepy, man. There's
Oh,
something
he is
about this
creepy.
guy. Every time I saw him on screen, he was so calm, so collective about everything he did. There's something very creepy about someone who could pull that off. And I enjoyed him. I enjoyed the character. I enjoyed the rest of the cast as well. Obviously, John. Enough cannot be said about John Barenthal as, Frank Castle, aka the Punisher.
Yeah, actually, I do want to amend something I said. The dynamic between Frank and Amy, I thought was one of the best things about this season. To me, that is definitely a standout, something I really didn't expect from it. So yeah, that is definitely something that was really well done in the show, and I liked that. While she didn't replace his daughter, they still had that father-daughter relationship that
I
you
love that.
still liked to see and you enjoyed seeing them on screen together. And then watching their arc from how they started to how they ended, I was getting a bit emotional when it ended. It's heartwarming to see how Frank interacts with a daughter-like figure who's also would be the same age as what his daughter would have been. And I think that while it didn't fill the hole, it helped. And I really like that for his character. And I hope that's something we see in Born Again, where he has that bit of development.
Yeah, because he's a great father figure, and you got to
Yeah.
understand this guy's an ex-special forces Marine. He's a protector
Hmm.
at all costs. That's at his core. And I'm not the biggest Punisher fan, so if you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong. But Frank Castle, to me, when I've read the comics, when I've seen him on screen and things like that, he's that wolf protected figure that he'll put his life on the line, very much like Wolverine we saw in Logan, and I love those
I
kind of
mean,
things.
what comes to mind like exactly with that is the Civil War comic with him bringing Spider-Man back. Like exactly what you that proves exactly what you were saying there because Spider-Man is just a kid and Punisher made sure he got what he needed to, well, live.
Yeah, and it's endearing to me. I love the actress. She's beautiful. And when I first saw her, because this was the first time, of course, now I've seen her on in Ted, and she's funny as all hell. But when this is the first time I was introduced to Georgia, and from the first couple of scenes, I didn't know how I was going to play off because Frank Castle, John Barenthal's character's so dark and gritty, and essentially it's Wolverine and Jubilee or Laura, if you will.
Yeah.
But they played well off each other, man. They had such great chemistry, and he's very much the the protective father who of course is going to get annoyed. There's moments in here of levity where she just annoys the hell out of him and he wants
Yeah.
to, just leave, but he's there so that she can survive. And I love that because it's like, okay, after season one, what's the purpose of Frank doing all of this? And I'll get to it in a little bit when I start talking about the things that I didn't like. The whole purpose that drives the story is if he's gone, if he leaves, he walks out on her, she's gonna be dead within 10 minutes easily. So that to me is, it's the Marine in him, it's the father figure in him that if he knows it's got to be his life on the line and not hers. And that
Such
I
a
love that
well-written
about Frank.
character.
Yeah.
Really well done.
There was very little I didn't like from this season. When we start off, Frank is trying to move. And I guess he really is trying his hardest to just put what happened behind him. He's been through a lot,
Hmm.
not mentioning his military career, but just everything that happened in Daredevil season two and in Punisher season one. He's trying to put that shit behind him. And we find him, flirting with this very beautiful woman at a bar. And he even, takes her home. And I understand that a shitstorm happens like immediately after that, and then but what I would have wanted was a circle back to that because I don't think that Frank's the type of character that gets a happy ending and he gets remarried and has
Hmm.
children again. I don't think that's going to happen with him, but I think some kind of happiness for Frank
Well,
Castle. I think
I
it's
think
well
Amy
deserved for a
was his
dude like this.
happiness. I think that's
Yeah,
that's what it was for him.
yeah. I just would have liked to, for him to get the lady because he doesn't end up with Karen. We know he doesn't end up with Karen. I don't know. Again the actress that plays with him, well, not plays with him, that's in the first couple of episodes. I like her. I've always had a crush on her. I think she's beautiful as all hell, and I just was like, oh man, Frank could end up with that. Jigsaw's face, man, that shit. And Griff and I have talked about this, and Griff explained to me the science and the medical procedure behind Jigsaw's face. And although I understand what Griffin is saying about how those cuts and the way the glass entered his face and all, if you guys all saw season one and he gets fucked up, like Frank, and understandably so. This guy betrayed him. His children were and wife were murdered. Well, almost directly because of what Billy didn't say. So he really goes to town on his ass.
Hmm.
And then also it was that one really shitty thing that Billy said, like right before Frank did that. I think Frank would have just like left him there with the knives in him. Then he said that one thing about his kids, and then I
Yeah.
even would have done that. But then here we see him in season two. When we first see him, he's got, of course, bandages and shit, and we all just assume we're like, yeah, you got his face, and we've seen the comics, so we kind of know what Jigsaw's face looks like, right? And then
Hmm.
and then he gets his bandages removed, and I'm like, somehow this fucker's still way better looking than I'm ever going to be in my life, which is I'm not jealous of that. It just didn't make any sense. I was expecting to see a little bit more damage. And even
Yeah.
Ben Barnes, in some of the behind the scenes and stuff like that, he said he really wanted to go all Jigsaw out. And funny enough, he said that the producers were like, literally, like, you're too pretty for us to do that. Women are going to riot in the streets. They're going to hate us for it. So the reason behind his limited scarring, if you will, is because the producers were like, which
Yeah.
is it's kind of odd from the producers because season one and season two are like really fucking gritty and violent. So for them to take that choice, yeah, I mean he's a great looking dude, but it's just funny. He's got like I think 4 or 5
Four.
scars,
There's like
but
one
they're
goes
like,
here, one
yeah.
goes here. It's
And he's still one of the most handsome motherfuckers you're ever gonna run into.
yeah.
He even gets laid in this show by
That was
his
so
by his
fucking
doctor.
weird.
I know Griff's not a fan of doctor patient things. His doctor's hot, by the way. So I don't
It's
blame Billy. I blame her.
yeah, I
And
blame
those
her
are my
too.
two.
I
Yeah,
mean,
those are my two gripes.
I think like in terms of Jigsaw's face, I think a lot of them were minor lacerations and they just healed over time, considering there was a lot of time between season one, season two, at least in terms of like for healing process, and those are just the ones that scarred. So while albeit I do wish it was more scarred up, I'm okay with it. Because I mean, yeah, I get them wanting still want Ben Barnes to be recognizable, still be the pretty boy. That I get it, but I guess going into my list, starting off with his doctor, what the fuck? That just I didn't see season two initially when it came out because I it was canceled right afterwards or beforehand because Netflix was shut down for Marvel because they're going into Disney Plus. So I didn't bother watching this just because I wasn't in a rush, so it just always got pushed down the list. And I always heard that season two is better than season one. Wow. Now, I think this season is okay. It's not bad, but it's just okay. I think that the romance between Jigsaw and his doctor is came out of left field, and I feel like it's while it does happen, I don't get the build up to it. I don't think it really clicked and made sense, and it's just
I do, but I don't know if I can say it. She just wants some D.
yeah. I yeah. I guess it really doesn't need to be any explanation. It's just that's just I didn't like that, especially since she was real fast, real quickly willing to kill over him. I get she has her own brand of
He laid
crazy and
that
afraid
pipe
of
down.
heights, but still, that is a
I've had that
whole new
conversation
level.
with a lot of my friends. And grant you, it's a beautiful woman. She could get the D around the block. Why she chooses Billy's crazy ass? I mean,
She
again,
thinks she can fix him, but
he's
still,
one of
it's
the most
just
handsome motherfuckers on the planet as the villain. So, and then she like takes him home. Yeah, he was gonna get. And then
so
why she's
weird.
willing to kill for him, like I just said right now, and I said this in a room full of family members. He laid the pipe down right, man. When you lay the pipe down right, this is
Sure,
what happens.
we'll go with
She's
it.
out there,
We'll
she's
go
out there
along
killing
with it.
motherfuckers for him.
And then, well, I think the actor who played John Pilgrim did a great job. That was not the villain I would have gone with. I don't feel like he fit the story too well because the to me the biggest issue with this season is the unity between the arcs. In Punisher season one, all the Daredevil seasons, even to some extent the other Netflix shows, there was always a unity between their side arcs and their main arc. But here, it just felt like two side arcs competing with each other, where they filmed the John Pilgrim arc, then they filmed the Jigsaw arc, and they just started cutting it together to try to look like it happened at the same time, but it never felt like it really intertwined and it felt like two completely separate stories. And I really wasn't a fan of that.
I will admit that I would have much preferred for it to have just been the Amy and John Pilgrim arc, and then maybe leave Jigsaw for season three. But I guess maybe they felt like they weren't
Because
good,
I
or
think there
maybe they
were,
knew
I th
we
they
we're
did
not
know
getting
they
a
were getting
season three.
canceled, so it could have been that they rushed it together. But I
Yeah,
think John, sure, if it did John Pilgrim as season two, then Jigsaw season three, that would have worked. But there are so many other villains that Punisher has where you could have worked in Jigsaw a lot more naturally than Pilgrim, because Pilgrim didn't touch Jigsaw at all. And that arc was good. I did think it got a little bit old fast because I wanted to see Jigsaw. And whenever he was on screen, when they're going through his arc, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really good. And then when Pilgrim came on, it was good, but it wasn't what I wanted to see. And I felt like it got old real fast. Like right after they got picked up and went back to New York, I was kind of done with that arc already. They had some really good moments, but after that, it got really repetitive. And for Jigsaw, it was a good arc. I liked it. I liked the mask, but I it did also go on a little bit too long. I felt like the ending to the arc was stupid as all hell. I hated the ending to that arc. He was dying. He was 100% gonna die, and he just asked for his friends to be around him. He didn't even remember what he did, and when he did, he apologized, said that was completely fucked up and that was not him. Which I do agree. Like he was completely had complete amnesia and he didn't remember it in all intents and purposes. He was a separate person who would not have done that at this point in Billy's lifetime, career, whatever. He would not have made those choices. So I feel like it was unfair to punish this Billy for the past Billy's issues when that was separate characters. And he was already dead. I feel like showing him that one mercy should have happened. I feel like John just putting him down was undeserved. And I don't think it would have given Frank the closure that he needed. Because I feel like he had that closure already. At this point, he was just doing a job. I
I
didn't
don't
like
know.
that. I didn't
I
like
I
that at all.
I don't know because as a I don't know. Just as a family man, just if in that moment, if he's reminiscing of what Billy did, or let's say what Billy didn't do, yes, he didn't know that Frank was going to have his family there, or but he should have. He's a shitty friend because he didn't tell Frank, and because he didn't tell Frank, Frank's entire family got massacred. So yeah, I would have popped his ass too.
Yeah, I just felt like
Well,
it was like
I
with
don't
the
know.
tone, it was already resolved. Like I guess that's my issue. Like I felt like it was resolved and he's moved past it. I feel like just not giving him that mercy to his best friend because he was still that's how he was in his at point in his life. I just felt like him and Curtis could have done that. It would have he was going to be dead in 2 minutes. Just sit there with them and give him that. He's had a well deserved fucked up past few months. Well deserved. But just giving him that kindness and mercy, I would have liked it. I feel like that would have fit a little bit more and would have been a nice closing to the arc rather than just putting him down.
I think you're right. I think that's what you and I would have done.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's what Matt Murdock would have done. I just think that because of Punisher, because of who he, because that's what he does. He puts motherfuckers down.
That's true.
I think that's what he's
That's
all
very
about. I
true.
think
And
he's about,
especially with the recent crimes that Billy did pull off, yeah, I think it totally fits.
yeah,
But I didn't like it.
yeah. I think so. I think the issue with that is because that's not what we would have done. I think we would have sat, and I know full well we would have sat down with the fucker and held his hand until his last breath.
Yeah,
But
it's just
not because we're nice people. That's just because we've done shit like that. But I think Frank, just because the character, I think it suits him. But I understand why you dislike it because I
yeah,
know you wouldn't do it.
yeah. But I mean, that's just those are my issues with the show. I guess I felt like when I going into it, my expectations were too high, just being told that this is better than season one, and I really like season one. I also feel like that I'm glad that Micro had his happy ending. They didn't bring him back. But having like one scene with him, I would have liked it. I didn't
No,
need
I'm
it,
I'm
but I would
I'm
have
glad
liked
he's
it.
out there nailing
Yeah,
his
I'm
wife,
glad he's
having a
happy.
third kid.
But I mean, I think season one is so good, and then hearing this is just better. Maybe upon a rewatch, I'll feel differently about it. But I feel like out
Yeah.
of the Netflix seasons, this is probably in the middle, just with including all of the Netflix shows. But between Daredevil and Punisher, this is not probably this is the worst one. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and Punisher season two, go check out our Daredevil Born Again trailer, where this is the next appearance of John Barenthal's Punisher, and we absolutely cannot wait to see him again.
Please don't fuck this up.